I'm Kevin Dasher, and this is my video for Assignment 3 for Management 5381, Managing Innovation and Change. Today we're going to talk about my employment with Bell Helicopter and how this relates to the entrepreneurial orientation. And based on the 5 dimensions of entrepreneurial orientation, I would say that Bell does very well on 2 of the 5. They've made great strides on the autonomy and innovation, but as far as being proactive and being competitive, aggressive, and taking risk, they don't do so well. We're going to talk about that. For autonomy, they do really well. They have a system in place that helps support a new actual facility called XWorks, and what that does is basically engineers can come up with bright new ideas and take those from the concepts that they develop in their workstations and take them into rapid prototyping development in about 18 to 24 months, which is pretty remarkable considering most aviation developmental programs take anywhere between 5 to 6 years to bring from stuff on the computer into actual working prototypes. So you basically cut it down by 2/3, and it works really well. It makes the engineers pretty excited to be out there working and seeing their products actually come out into tangible form versus what they see on the workstations. And it is a paid benefit for the company. Hand in hand with that is another facility they call the Composite Center of Excellence, where they use computer controlled machines to do layup for composite structure bonding. It used to be that you used composites for main rotor blades, tail rotor blades, but with this facility they can actually develop tail booms, whole fuselage structures, engine mounts, things of that nature. A lot of things that we wouldn't have even thought of doing even 10 years ago, we can do in this facility. They've got a huge autoclave, works well, does great things. So for autonomy, they do really well. To me, I think the innovativeness for the helicopter industry is probably the most important aspect of the 5 dimensions for entrepreneurial orientation. But I will tell you, with Bell, as good as their XWorks is, their mid-level management kind of encumbers them and keeps them from really going into great strides that they need to, because their philosophy is you know, we haven't done this before. There's no real onus there to move forward. If you bring it back into the company, if you leave it in XWorks, it'll work. But if you take it and put it in the main stride of the halls of Bell Helicopter, it doesn't work so well, because they want to have the market surveys or the prerequisite RFP, request for proposal or request for quote, from the government. They want that data in hand before they move forward on something outside of XWorks or the Composite Center of Excellence. They're trying very hard to catch up with their competition out in the civilian market, and they're not doing real well. Some of the things I think they could do to make that work better for them, they need to separate their management from engineering. They've been really bad about promoting engineers into management positions. Engineers want to be engineers and do workstation development and crunch numbers. They're not good at monitoring budgets or taking care of time cards and things like that. So if they could separate managers from engineers, that'd be goodness. Another thing they could do is hire from the outside. If they hired from the outside, they could bring in new talent with fresh ideas, maybe even outside the industry, to see how other companies and production type facilities have been able to do business and build from that. I think they need to go there. The other thing they need to do is listen to their employees' ideas. I personally have had issues with some of the things that I brought up that I thought were, you know, fairly good ideas that were shot down in just the small area that I worked in, because that wasn't how we did business. And again, you take the mid-level managers out of their comfort zone, and they're not going to move forward on that without a lot of evidence to the contrary to make them move. So the next dimension is proactiveness. Bell's really good at forecasting demands in their current market segments, which is primarily out in the Gulf and their EMS customers. They're not real good in the government side of the house. They lost their business on the OH-58 to the point where the Army went internally with their own assets to develop a service life extension program. You probably heard of the V-22, the AH-1Z, and the UH-1Y, which are Marine Corps initiatives, follow-on programs that had the Marines not stepped in to take charge and basically spearhead this through Congress, they would have all died on the vine because Bell was that arrogant in how they approached the contract. V-280 Valor may bring them back into the fold with the Army, but we'll see what happens. They'll need to do a lot of development and do a lot of mending of fences on the burned bridges that they had with the Army. With competitive aggressiveness, Bell doesn't look for new markets, like I said before. They want to stick with their Gulf, offshore stuff and EMS. ARH, the Armed Reconnaissance Helicopter, really killed them. They fell flat on that. It wasn't any fault of their own. You had a lot of issues with configuration management on that airplane. A lot of people were throwing out ideas both on the Bell side as well as the government side. A lot of the government folks came over from the Comanche program. It was really ugly there. When it got cut, they moved over to ARH, and a lot of their ideas carried over, and they said, hey, what if we do this, what if we do that? It really hampered it, and that's what killed that and made it die on the vine. Bell's really bad on using the phrase, how pregnant are you? Especially when it comes to government contracts. What they think is once we get you on contract, if there's any discrepancy with that contract or any loopholes that we don't have development pieces in place to make the contract whole, their idea is that's an upscope. So they can charge you more money. So they figure they've got you on the hook. You're already pregnant because you want this vehicle, and anything we do above and beyond, we're going to charge you through the nose for, because again, we've got you on the hook. As far as risk taking goes in the next dimension of entrepreneurial orientation, Bell Helicopter is very risk adverse. They don't want to jeopardize existing business in pursuit of new opportunities. They'd rather build on the existing methods and look beyond their boundaries. One of the things that we used was the health and unit maintenance system in the helicopter industry. It's basically a set of sensors that go on all your main drivetrain components, your transmissions, your engines, your rotor systems, and your drive shafts, to basically give you on-demand replacement, versus what we do in aviation industry with others that don't have the health and unit maintenance management, is they use what's called a TBO, a time between overhauls. So they actually count the hours that the components have been used. It gets to be very labor intensive, and really you don't get the best bang for your buck on your parts. So they've gone to this. Bell hasn't gone that far with it yet. They don't see the initiative. They don't want to take that risk. It's too far out of their comfort zone, so it's ugly. A lot of other companies are going above and beyond that and are beating them in that market. So all in all, I would give Bell about a 2 out of the 5 that they do well in. And again, those are autonomy and somewhat of the innovativeness. There's some pitfalls there, and like we discussed, I think they can get better at it. So anyway, that's my thought process and my feelings about Bell with regard to the entrepreneurial orientation. Hope you appreciate the video, and thanks for watching.